This is a patient that has been going through some sound sensitivity issues, and he's here to share a little more of his story. I want to introduce you to Michael.
Hi, I'm Michael, and about a year ago, I had a very strange traumatic ear event at a place listening to live music, and subsequently began suffering from tinnitus, and from what I now know is misophonia. For about 6 months, it was quite traumatic and very stressful, a lot of anxiety, losing sleep. I had a lot of guilt, blame, and I really didn't know that I was going to be able to live a normal life with not being able to go out and see music, not being able to go to a restaurant, not being able to sleep. And so I had visited an audiology, a doctor, an ear doctor, and was told that, as many of us have been told, you have tinnitus, and there's not a cure for that, a quick fix. But I was recommended to Dr. Phillips and the Audiology Center as a way of managing the condition. And so I came in for an initial consultation and then came back a couple weeks later for a sound, hearing test. My hearing is actually quite good. As a matter of fact, the ear doctor at one point said, "Your ear test, I'd give you an A+." So I lost no hearing, and it was quite the reverse. Rather than losing and not hearing things, I was hearing things I shouldn't be hearing and being bothered by things that I would be normal sounds. Um, Dr. Phillips, in diagnosing me with misophonia, really almost saved my life and my sanity, simply because I could put a name to the situation that I was dealing with. I had read a lot about hyperacusis and thought that I was not going to be able to function necessarily without wearing earplugs all the time. Going to work, I was wearing earplugs. Walking down the street, I was wearing earplugs. Sometimes worried about going to a restaurant, simply being able to go out and have dinner and be social. I didn't think I was going to be able to do that. And I would, sometimes walking down the street, I would avoid busy streets. I would avoid loud crowds. I would worry if I wanted to go see music, can I do this? Within 5 weeks of one having a name, misophonia, and when Dr. Phillips said to me, "You don't have hyperacusis, you don't have decreased sound tolerance, you have misophonia," which is a term I had heard of before, but I didn't know it. It was a real game changer. I felt like I had some sense of control at that point, and to simply know you're not broken, not damaged. It's not hopeless. I learned about one of the nicest things was when she said this is treatable, and the nice thing about it is that a treatment we started doing sound therapy, music therapy, to have listened to music and loved music like I do and love to go out to see music, and to find out that my treatment was something that I loved was very calming, comforting. And within 5 weeks of beginning very prescribed regular sound therapy, music therapy, I was no longer wearing earplugs at work. I was no longer stressing about going down the street. And now, as a matter of fact, I walk down the street and traffic doesn't bother me. A loud motorcycle, sure, but that bothers everybody. Train horns in a town where there's lots of trains, yes, that bothers me. But I don't live in fear. I'm not afraid to go to restaurants. I can sleep. I've learned to understand my tinnitus and what it is. And in many ways, what I was told initially when I was first diagnosed is that after a year, most people are more comfortable dealing with it. And a year ago, I think that was the one thing that I was most afraid of, that most people with tinnitus and something like misophonia are afraid of is that I'm never going to be normal again. I'm never going to be comfortable. I'm not going to be able to function. I'm not going to be able to work. I'm not going to be able to go out to dinner with my wife and family. And I can, and it's a real game changer. I would say, and I'm sure many people have said it, you know, Dr. Phillips saved my life, saved my sanity in the sense of I was very hopeless and a lot of blame and a lot of guilt and just felt like I would never be normal again. And now I feel normal. I have a condition that I have to deal with. I have tinnitus, and it's annoying. It's frustrating sometimes, as it would be, but it's just this condition I have. I grew up with asthma. It was just something that I eventually learned to deal with, and it was very treatable. And now I don't even worry about asthma. Same thing with tinnitus. I have tinnitus. I deal with it. I also have misophonia, which can be very problematic and can negatively impact a person's life of being afraid to go somewhere, being afraid to live a normal life. And I don't have to do that. I live a normal life. I just live a normal life that has a condition that I can name that was very helpful, and I know that it's treatable. One of the best things that I experienced when talking with Dr. Phillips about this is when saying, I don't think I'll ever be normal again, will I be? And she told me, yeah, you will be normal again. You'll be able to go places. A year ago, I went, well, 6, 8 months ago, I went to a huge football game, state championship football game, where I work in schools. I'd been to many before. And even with earplugs, the sound was so loud that I was worried. It was tough to enjoy it. I was covering my ears. Now, recently, I had the fortunate experience of being in Paris on the last day of the Tour de France, and I was in a incredibly tight crowd of loud yelling, cheering. And yes, I was wearing earplugs, and but when it got too loud, I simply put an ear, almost very discreetly, just put a finger, and I was able to enjoy the Tour de France, something that I would never have thought I could do 6 months ago. So it's been, yeah, I've said the word. It's been life changing. It's been a game changer, simply to understand my situation, to understand my condition, to put a name to it, to be told that this is manageable, that you can manage it, that you can deal with it, that you can live a normal life, that you can go to work and not wear earplugs, that you can go out to dinner with your family, that you can go see concerts and simply enjoy the music. That's been my experience. It's been my experience with Dr. Phillips and the Audiology Center. I could not recommend it more highly. It has really changed my life. I've since come back on learning to manage my condition. Even though I'm living a normal life, I've come back a couple times just for a check-in. This is how I'm dealing. I go through a checklist. How are you feeling about this? And whereas I used to feel hopeless, I feel hopeful. I feel positive. So simply being able to come back in and do a check-in, I think is really important. Simply being able to come in and talk to someone who understands and can offer advice and guidance is really helpful. I will, make appointments in the future, again, just to check in, even as I'm managing my condition. I'll come in and check in, and find out, is anything worse? Is anything different? And it's very reassuring and very comforting. So that has been my experience. A year ago, I was really unhappy, and today I'm very happy and I feel normal.